and let us all do we can to build a better future.
As always with these shootings that happen in America, you have these politicians, these scumbag politicians, politicizing everything. Democrats, Republicans. You know, if it wasn't not only just Roe v. Wade, when the Supreme Court decided to let that letter out early for everyone to get in a panic about, but now with this horrifying disaster that took place in Texas, you have the oh so simple, oh so predictable talking points from these jagoff politicians. Now, to be clear here, there's a federal investigation that's going on to why the police, didn't do anything for a whole damn hour. We talked about that on Friday's show, and also be sure to check that clip out as well, because I think it's long overdue that we finally call out those cops for being cowards and not actually stepping up. In 1 hour, they do nothing. So, let's talk about our oh-so-fantastic lawmakers that say words we want to hear, but don't do fucking anything. So let's pull up this tweet here from good old Nancy Pelosi. She was probably drunk when she wrote this, just like her husband, who got recently caught with a DUI. So again, these politicians, they live in a whole other world. This is from Nancy. As the families in Buffalo and Uvalde are planning funerals instead of summer celebrations with their loved ones, we hold them in our hearts and commit to matching our outrage and heartbreak with concrete action. We won't give up until the job is done. Hashtag end gun violence now. End the gun violence now. Thoughts and prayers. That's what we're getting from old hagbag Nancy. Thoughts and prayers. Remember, in 2008, Barack Obama had a supermajority in the U.S. Senate and House. The Democrats controlled both chambers and the presidency. Nothing fundamentally changed at all. The Democrats didn't lift a finger. The Democrats didn't enact anything. And as the years progressed, as the shootings kept on becoming regular and regular, we see these politicians say the same thing. We're going to do something, but it's this side that's holding it back. It's this side that's holding it back. You know, if Nancy Pelosi was this great political thinker, this great strategist of all things, you'd think by now she and her fantastic friends in the Democratic Party would have figured something out. We got a video here where once again we're seeing the outrage from Nancy. She's politicizing it as usual, trying to make herself seem like the good guy, but when we're done playing this video, I'm just going to remind you all just who Nancy Pelosi truly is and really the amount of hypocrisy that's in the Democratic Party. Let's play this video.
So this is about individuals, it's about families, it's about the siblings of these children. It's about a sense of community that is so, just imagine, Christine was telling me that the higher grade kids came in with their, about a week ago, with their gowns that they were for graduation, their graduation gowns, and showing these young kids, if you study hard, you too can graduate and go on to other things. So the school had a beautiful connection between the older kids and younger kids. And now we have the consequence of, can you imagine the sorrow in their families? But again, we don't agonize, we organize. We must shine a bright light on the United States Senate to get those Republican senators to stop making excuses for the money that the big gun, it's not even the lobbyist, that's one thing to affect their vote, but the big money that goes in that moves all doubt that they're never going to open their minds or their hearts to what is right for our children.
That was an alcoholic slurred word salad right there. Nancy Pelosi, your margarita glow is showing. Look, she's in her late 80s. And I am not going to be nice to these Democratic lawmakers or these Republican lawmakers. They're all hypocrites. Did anyone understand a goddamn thing that she was trying to even say in that entire video segment? And yet her team decided to tweet that out. Not to be ageist here, but there comes a breaking point when some of these politicians who've been in power for more than 10 terms need to step down. There should be an age limit at this point because it's embarrassing. None of them have any bright new ideas. None of them are going to do anything. There is no incentive for these politicians to help you and your families. And Nancy Pelosi was so concerned about these heartless Republican lawmakers, and let's face it, look, I know we get a lot of pushback from a lot of liberals and vote blue no matter who people, like, oh, you're never hard on the Republicans. Well, because I know what to expect from the GOP. I mean, I know that the Republican Party is filled with scumbag politicians, just like the Democratic Party. And Nancy Pelosi and the Democratic Party, the DCCC, especially in the House, have done a lot to make sure that their incumbents stay in power. And some of these incumbents are real deplorable people. They're pro-life. They have good working relationships with Republican lawmakers. A lot of them vote against the Democratic Party. But yet Nancy Pelosi, in her infinite wisdom, supports those blue dog Democrats. Yes, some of these blue dog Democrats that might as well call themselves Republicans. But because, again, they're probably really good with fundraising and have good connections with a couple other lobby groups, Nancy Pelosi has her little margarita glow and says, oh my goodness, I love that money. I love the money that they bring in. They're an incumbent. We got to keep them in power. I want to pull up this article here, just so all of you know. Yes, it's AOC, I know. AOC's talking about how, and we talked about this, AOC blasts Democratic leaders for boosting pro-NRA incumbent Henry Keeler. So again, we talked about this in the show. We can actually show the article just a little bit, but this is a short rundown of what to expect. That's the Democratic Party. And you think old Henry's the only other blue dog Democrat that's pro-NRA? There's a lot more of them in the Democratic Party. If Nancy Pelosi wants to point fingers at the Republican Party, well, she'll have to look at the mirror. I know the mirror might break because it'll see her reflection, the soulless husk that she is, and realize, oh, she has surrounded herself with the same kind of people that are in the GOP, but they call themselves Democrats. So what is the real solution? My solution is this. If you're tired of electoral politics, don't vote for the Democratic Party. Don't vote for the Republican Party. Break away from it. Build infrastructure and movements outside the influence of Washington, D.C. This has to be evidence enough. These politicians don't care. Look at that tweet. Look at that drunken, slurred, senile speech that she was giving in 1 minute and 17 seconds. Tell me, did any of you take anything away from that little tweet or that video? These politicians like to tweet. These Democratic lawmakers like to tweet. Sooner or later, I wouldn't be surprised if one of these lawmakers, like AOC or anyone else in the Fantastic Squad or Bernie Sanders himself, say, what would the Senate voting on gun laws do for you? They're going to tweet something out, something stupid like that, if they haven't already. We live in a system where these politicians say things and do nothing. And the only reason why they're allowed to get away with it is because for a vast majority of Americans that aren't aware of how corrupt our system is, they just let it slide on by. This is normal. Nobody panics. It's like that quote from The Dark Knight when the Joker had Harvey Dent. He had a gun to Harvey Dent's head. If I were to go to the media right now and say a gangbanger was going to get shot or a truck of soldiers were going to blow up, nobody's going to panic. See, these politicians know that there's going to be another shooting. They know that they're going to have their little debates. They know that the media is going to give it attention. Then the story will die down. Everything goes back to normal. And then another shooting happens right away. Don't expect these politicians, when they get into office, to do anything for you. It's up to the people. When the people lead, that's when the leaders follow. Anything that's ever been done in America has been done by the people. These politicians don't do that. These politicians are not the characters that you see in movies or in comic books or in TV shows. They're not these wise legislators. They're not these wise individuals that care about you. They don't respect us, and they never will. So, a promise is always a promise. I want to pull up this article from Common Dreams. It has to deal with our old friend, Donald Trump. of all people. Yes, the Republican Party is also politicizing this event as well. Faze, we won't be going over the article, but there's a few tweets in there where Donald Trump is speaking to the people. So there's 2 videos in there. Let's play the first one if we can.
And unlike some, I didn't disappoint you by not showing up. Gotta show up. Gotta show up.
Right. So Trump saying he's going to show up. Now, this is again what's happening here is Donald Trump, former Republican president, went to an NRA convention. If we can, let's play the next video. We'll get that all set up and ready. But right, so that's just Trump doing his little thing. But there's another video in there as well where he is reading the names of the shooting victims. That second video right there. There it is.
Of silence as I read the names of these beautiful people, all young, wonderful lives ahead of them. They're brave teachers whose lives were destroyed by an out-of-control lunatic. So we'll start. Alexandria Rubio. Alitha Ramirez. Amory Garza. Annabelle Guadalupe Rodriguez. Eliana Cruz Torres. Ellie Garcia. Jacqueline Cazares. Jayla Nicole Silguro. Jace Lovarnos. Jose Flores. Leila Salazar. McKenna Lee Elrod. Maitai Rodriguez. Miranda Mathis. Nevaeh Bravo. Rogelio Torres. Tess Marie Mata. Ozia Garcia. Javier Lopez. 2 great and beautiful, brilliant teachers, Eva Morales, Irma Garcia. And thank you very much.
All right. Now, I wanted to play that video in its entirety so all of you realize that we're living in a clown show. That's the former president of the United States, part of the Republican Party, who once used to be a Democrat, good friends with Hillary and Bill Clinton. This is the nightmare we're in. At an NRA convention, he reads their names. And it becomes that much of a morbid, sick, dark joke. I don't know what the punchline is, but I really can't laugh at it anymore. I really can't be shocked anymore. And the fact that we hear that the cops waited for a whole hour before anything could be done. The fact that there's now going to be a federal investigation. The fact that, again, Nancy Pelosi and her fantastic friends in the Democratic Party go to bat for a lot of pro-gun Democratic lawmakers. The fact that you're seeing at the NRA convention former President Republican Donald Trump reading the names of the victims. This is America, where disasters like this, horrifying scenarios like this, are becoming and have become the norm. And the reason why it's become the normal are normal here in America is because our politicians built this system up. Our media contributes to it. And remember, the same people who own our politicians also control our media. And the only reason why it keeps on chugging along is because of our silent, obedient consent. Our consent to let this happen. And it's going to get worse until people say no more. Until people take the initiative that what we have doesn't work. It never will work. This is neoliberalism at its finest. And you want to know who's going to profit off this entire disaster, especially during this midterm? It'll be these Democratic and Republican politicians that will fundraise off of this nightmare. They'll say that this side will do this to you, that this side will do that to you. And there's going to be suckers, regular Americans, that donate money to both parties. These politicians don't like you. These politicians don't think about you. They don't respect you. When was the last time any of these lawmakers did anything for us? They're okay with us dying. They're okay with us being homeless. They're okay with us being in debt. They're okay with spending billions of dollars for war. And they're okay with profiting off of horrifying tragedies like this. Those victims that died in Texas, they're all of us. And they and their memory are being used and abused by lawmakers like Nancy Pelosi, lawmakers like Donald Trump. And they do this because they believe we are weak, that this is okay, that we are just going to accept this. There's no incentive for us to let these politicians continue with the way things are. I'm not going to sit here on this show and tell you to vote Democrat or Republican. That's on you. I'm not going to tell you to vote independent or third party. That's on you. But what we need to do is actually start building movements, organizations, supporting ballot initiatives to actually break away from this system, to build something that will work for the people. But what you saw right there, are you angry yet? Are you tired of being stepped on? Are you tired of being disrespected? Because these politicians will do it again and again. This tragedy that happened in Texas, it's going to happen somewhere else in America. We just got to say no more to it.